All right, there are some injury updates for the Dogs as they get ready really to turn towards SEC play. Obviously, this weekend at Missouri, will be out there in Middle Earth, making sure that you've got everything you need. Here's what Kirby said Monday about some injuries at Georgia, and I would say there are three key injuries. First of all, he says Arian, talking about Arian Smith, has been getting better and better and better. He ran some last week. He hit some good numbers. He's not planting or cutting, or he wasn't planting or cutting last week. His pregame, we felt like he was getting in better shape. He was able to do more in practice last week, but he wasn't 100%. We'll find out today, talking about Monday, where he is. He's probably a little bit ahead of A.D. Mitchell. But AD's got a shot this week as well, so we're hopeful to get both those guys back this week. Talking about Jalen Carter, he is nursing an ankle injury. He was much better going into this game, and we're hopeful that he can play this week. He's able to play this week. It's just a nagging injury, ankle injury, and he's struggled to get over it. And it's really tough on defensive linemen because you're dealing with 600 or 700 pounds being pressed on you. Kenny McIntosh, he says, uh, had the same thigh issue that he has had already. He kind of got hit on that same spot, but feels like he'll be fine. He was fine after the game. He was fine Sunday. We may limit him Monday, talking about, but feel good about Kenny being able to go. So it looks like those four guys. Well, Kenny McIntosh is going to play, but and it looks like Jalen Carter is too. But those four guys are, you know, three of the four starters. One of them is a particularly good player, A.D. Mitchell. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. The link is down below. A lot of people watching these videos that don't watch them year round, you're missing out if you don't have this. The link is down below. There's Arian Smith. A great picture. A great picture. It was a good picture of Arian Smith. A great play is what I was trying to say from Stetson. And then there's the play to A.D. Mitchell. That A.D. Made a heck of a grab on that second and whatever it was. Pretty loud. We lay that out in the book. Make sure you're picking it up, y'all. It's a great way to support the site. These trips to Middle Earth don't just pay for themselves. Some of them, they if you want to see us out there, get all this content. That's how you help us. But it would be a better offense with Arian and A.D. Mitchell out there. They're two important players for Georgia. A.D. has certainly become a really important player for the Dogs. His trajectory from a season ago was, I mean, seemingly straight up. I don't know if it was straight up or not. It felt like that. But, getting those guys back would help the offense perform even better. It didn't seem like the offense missed a beat. I mean, even with the three turnovers, they scored 39 points, which is, pretty good, frankly. That's about 4.5 points a drive, and over 500 yards of offense. Um, you know, Mitchell um, really is an important part of the scheme that Georgia runs. Now, Smith has not played this season so far, but he gives you the capability. I mean, you can live without any individual player, but once you start adding up injuries, it becomes problematic. Plural injuries. I mean, Kenny McIntosh, they can't have him hurt. Same thing with Jalen Carter. I guess they could survive the wide receivers, but I mean, Jalen Carter is important. Kenny McIntosh is important. And with Kenny, it's twofold. Number one, you're just there's not a ton of running backs. I mean, you only have four on scholarship. Because Paul is hurt. You have five, right? But Paul is hurt. So you really do need five backs if you can in the SEC because it's not just playing running back. You're playing special teams. There's a lot going on. You suddenly get down to three running backs. That's a problem. I mean, it reminds me slightly of the game where Georgia went out to Missouri. with Nick Chubb and Brendan. I was about to say Sutherland. It was not Sutherland. It's definitely not Brandon Sutherland. But number 22 from Augusta, and they both, particularly Nick, ran all over Mizzou, but they had two running backs. Brendan Douglas, God, um, not Brandon Sutherland, Brendan Douglas. I don't know how you get the two first names confused, but Brendan Douglas had a heck of a play where he scored a touchdown flipping over a Missouri defender. I will try to find that picture real quick and show it to y'all. But um, you don't want to get into a situation where you're where you are rolling into games with two guys at running back. I mean, that's just not an ideal situation. So getting Kenny back in the fold is important. Now, Jalen Carter, I don't think I need to explain to the people watching this, who obviously are smart people, what you're dealing with if you were to lose one of the best players in college football for any moment in time. Nevertheless, this critical stretch that you're about to run on top of. But I just this Georgia team, in order to play its absolute best, probably needs all its best players. And you know, that's always easier, during a season, that's always easier said than done. And guys get hurt, it happens. But let's look at this. So that was Wes's picture, my brother-in-law Wes, who was shooting at the time. And then I had a little remote here for Brendan Douglas. Look at that. I know people will try to hijack this picture, which is fine, whatever. I mean, you'll just get a copyright notice. But yeah, this is from a camera that I set on the ground. It's called a remote. And this was late in the game. Georgia was up. Yeah, I think this was going into the fourth quarter. Just before the fourth quarter, this play put Georgia up 27 to nothing. Um, Missouri is not what I would call a tough place to play at. But that game, they were down a lot of players. Keith Marshall had been hurt at Tennessee. Todd Gurley was suspended just before this game. Um, Sony was hurt. So they had Nick and Brendan Douglas. And they ran all over Missouri, 34 to nothing. Now Mizzou had, speaking of turnovers from the last game, Mizzou had, I believe, 5 turnovers in that game, or 4, one of the two, and it was just way too many turnovers. Like, you're not surviving that. And that Missouri team, the year before, had beaten Georgia. It was the only time that Georgia's lost to Missouri in all of these games. But that game was watched by not quite 2 million people. Georgia had 3 sacks. They had a +5 turnover margin, y'all. I mean, no wonder they beat their brains in. I mean, typically maybe the game would have been like a 14-0 Georgia win, but you turn it over 5 times. That's just too much. Getting Jalen Carter back maybe helps a little bit in the run game as it relates to just defense, but I don't think. I mean, it doesn't seem to me like that was just like a real issue um, a week ago. I mean, I'm looking at the statistics here. Uh, Kent State allowed, I mean, Georgia allowed 93 yards rushing against Kent State. They've only allowed one game over 100 yards this season, and that was the Oregon game, 140 yards. Um, I I would not get too pumped up about that. I mean, there's when you look at the Georgia's defense has played well this year. I mean, they just have. And uh, Jalen Carter, no Jalen Carter, they have played well. And I think that is the part. The offenses look so good, y'all, but the defense really has played well. Now, yardage wise, they're in the top 11, so that's okay. That's actually pretty good, actually. Let's be honest. And then total offense, Georgia's the number 4 team in the country. Tennessee and Ohio State. Tennessee's got the number 1 offense in the country in terms of yardage, and they are definitely racking up yards. But Georgia's got, you know 7.6 yards per play, which is more. There's only a couple of teams that have more yards per play than the Dogs. Alabama, narrow by two one hundredths of a yard. Kansas, TCU, and Ohio State. So I think coming into this game, Georgia's in such a good position. Uh, Missouri is not good. I will say that. But I want to see how Georgia plays, right? We're not looking at the finals, the result, right? I mean, the result matters a lot, but we're looking at what's happening out there, because what's happening out there will determine the result. The result is okay, but let's see what happens on the field. Missouri has got some real issues, y'all. I know this is about injuries, and I am going to wrap that part up real quick. Make sure you're at Paloma Park, by the way, the Friday before the Auburn game. We're going to be there at 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock. It's going to be happy hour. Yes, you need to behave, but you need to come have fun. There's just nothing about Mizzou besides punt returns that they're very good at. So the offense, I mean, it's not bad. It's not great. The defense is actually solid, and you get that sometimes with some of the funky stuff that they can do. But they're only allowed about 300 yards per contest. So is that who they played or whatever? I mean, I don't know, but this is not a great Missouri team. And if you get these 4 guys back, if you get Smith back, if you get Mitchell back, if you get Jalen back, you gotta have. I mean, it's gonna be tough to win if you got 3 running. I mean, it's not gonna be tough, but it's not gonna be pretty. So I think you really do want Kenny back all you can. Hey, we'll see you on the website.